Former Eskom Chief Financial Officer Anuj Singh says he did not lie to the Minister of Public Enterprises on Eskom's dealings. Singh is appearing in front of the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises for the Eskom inquiry. When grilled over allegedly illegal payments to McKinsey, he said the contract was finalized before he assumed duty. He also denied that the Gupta family paid for any of his trips, including those to Dubai.
The negotiations for the McKinsey trillion contract and the approval thereof actually started way before I got to Eskom. So by and large, I inherited the program. I managed it, identified certain risks, and ultimately recommended to the board for its termination. The contracting with McKinsey followed Eskom policies, processes, and procedures, and national guidelines, instructions, and practice notes. We could not determine whether the contract was terminated in accordance with the termination clauses as contained in the contract or was in fact terminated at all.
The board chairperson came here and said you lied to the Minister of Public Enterprises in responding to the question from Honorable Mazon. Were you involved in preparing the response for the Minister?
I was the acting group chief executive at the time, and the submission was prepared by the normal Eskom processes. It was recommended by Mr. Edwin Mabulani and Ms. Suzanne Daniels, and I then proceeded to sign the submission. If I recall, the responses to the question, I still maintain that we did not mislead in terms of the responses to those questions. In my view, the answers to those questions were accurate.
Were you, sometime in December of 2015, in Dubai?
Yes, I was, sir.
Who paid for the trip and the accommodation, all the expenses related to that travel?
Mr. Advocate Varana, it was not the Gupta family. It was actually a acquaintance of mine from the UAE, Mr. Al-Balushi.
Anuj Singh highlighted the controversies around discriminatory behavior towards Tegeta. He denied involvement in the sale and acquisition of Optimum and merely approved decisions taken by the board tender committee.
I was not aware of the firm position that Eskom had taken relating to the 2.1 billion rand that needed to be paid verbatim without negotiation. Secondly, if a 2.1 billion rand amount needed to be paid verbatim without negotiation, I would assume that a contract would exist to that effect. No contract existed to that effect. Thirdly, I was not involved in the negotiation relating to the settlement of this penalty. I only got involved relating to this transaction because Ms. Daniels requested the BTC to delegate the authority to me to sign this agreement. The transaction was never consummated, so the money never actually left Eskom. So the 1.6 billion never went from Eskom. So the reason for that was the suspensive conditions was not fulfilled by the 31st of March, and the transaction expired and the guarantee expired. So there was no money that actually went to Tegeta.
Here are the highlights from Singh's testimony on Tuesday. On McKinsey Eskom contract, Koko said he inherited the contract as it was negotiated before his arrival at Eskom. He denied involvement in the purchase and sale of Optimum by Glencore to Tegeta. He said Eskom's prepayment to Tegeta was authorized by board tender committee. He just approved it. On the 1.6 billion rand guarantee to Tegeta, Singh said security of coal supply was at risk. Therefore, Department of Mineral Resources suggested the cash injection. He also clearly denied the allegations that Gupta family paid for his trips to Dubai. Singh told the committee that he never lied to the Public Enterprises Minister Lynn Brown over Eskom's dealings with Trillion, but the MPs were not convinced by his replies.
Giving Mr. Singh notice that the key issues that pertain to Eskom are X, Y, Z. You've had time to prepare. Each of us is going to tell you, Mr. Singh, you are lying, you are evasive, you are less than helpful, and there are worse conclusions we're going to come to, Chairperson, if you continue in this way. We all have other things to do here. You think we're little children that each time we ask you a question, you say, I don't remember. It's somebody else who did it. I'm not responsible. The document was prepared by somebody else. So, Chair, could you direct Mr. Singh? If he doesn't want to cooperate, he must tell us, and we as a committee must decide what we're going to do.
This is the nuance, and where I think that you're genius, is because you almost got it right, almost, to convince people that Eskom was not contracted to Trillion. But we now know that direct invoices were made from Eskom to Trillion. And direct payments were made from Eskom to Trillion.
There is a process within Eskom, which I referred to previously, which is a partnering agreement process that allows for subcontractors to be paid directly.